Ankit Pom, and thank you so much for your time and your support. And today training is about conducting a job hazard assessment. Okay, so please do not forget to subscribe my channel and like my videos, and please do share with your friends and colleagues. Thanks for your support. So let's start our training. So environmental health and safety programs, fire safety, bloodborne pathogens, hazard communication, personal protective equipment. So these are the things are under the environmental health and safety programs. In these programs, one of the training topic is for today is job hazard assessment. So first of all, we'll look into what is a hazard assessment and when is one required, when we need that job hazard assessment, and how we have to conduct the job hazard assessment. These are the things we're going to learn today. Definition: a hazard assessment is an evaluation of a workplace or work situation as to the potential for hazards that an employee may encounter while performing the job. Job hazard assessment and the job safety analysis, they are similar. They are not too much difference. So in the job hazard assessment, what you will do, you will look into the place for the work situation, you will look to the people, you will look to the employees, you will look to the equipments and certain other things. The job has a job safety analysis also. What you will do, you are breaking down the job in the certain steps, and each steps you are evaluating one by one. So that is the job safety analysis, and this is a job hazard assessment. So there is no much difference between job hazard assessment and job safety analysis. Now, what is the requirements of job hazard assessment? It is the required by the OSHA. Employees are required to certify in writing that they have assessed the workplace to determine if hazards are present or likely that would require personal protective equipment or medical monitoring, or other requirements such as fit testing for the respirators use and vaccines. You may use this presentation as a tool for completing the job hazard assessment from located on the environmental health and safety website, safetyfirst education. So job hazard assessment and the risk assessment also, it is similar. There is not too much difference. In the risk assessment, what you will do, you will conduct the 5 steps of the risk assessment: identifying the hazard, defining who might be harmed, how they will harm, severity of the harm, and you will do the control, you will do the review of those controls, and you will do the documentation. So those are the steps you will follow the same in the job hazard assessment as well. Now the supervisor, each department supervisor is required to perform a job hazard assessment and oversee that personal protective equipment is appropriate for the hazard and is being used accordingly. This is the role of supervisor. They have to make sure that they are complying with these requirements. Where do you begin? How you can begin for the job hazard assessment? It may be difficult to begin assessing every location, job title, or job task. The most logical place to begin is to review your accident and illness report. So what you can do, you can go back to your accident and the illness report, and there you can start. So what you can see that if there is a work area that seems to have more accident and injuries than others, so what you can do, you can compare the areas. Maybe you have the 6-7 areas. In those 6-7 areas, which area has the most accident, or which department has the most injuries or illness? So you can pick one of those and you can start from that. After that, is there a type of injury that seems to occur more frequently than others? Maybe the cut injury, maybe the leg injury, maybe the fall, people falling from height. So those type of injury, what you have to do, you have to make a trend. Okay? Maybe some of the department, they have the 5 injuries. Maybe some of the department, they have the 7 injuries. Maybe some of the places, they have the more. Some of the places, they have the less. So as per these things, you have to make the trends. And after that, you have to start one by one. If injury and illness reports do not point you towards a place to begin, consider beginning with. If you are finding that by looking into the place and the accident illness report, you are not confident to start your job hazard assessment, then you can start with the close calls or near misses. new tasks or positions, tasks that have changed, non-routine jobs and routine jobs. So you can start with these things. And work area assessment. After you have chosen a place to start, perform a walkthrough of the work area, looking for hazards as indicated in this training. So same like risk assessment. You are taking a walk of your work area. Then you are identifying the hazards. You will identify the hazards related to the people, related to the environment, related to the plant, related to the equipment, and certain other things. So in that way, you have to identify the hazard. After that, once you will identify the hazards by doing the walkthrough, you will list down those hazards. Then you can see that are there objects which may fall from above onto employees. These are the things you can check. Employees walking overhead, tools or materials handled above your head. So these are the things you can check to identify the hazards. Second thing, you can check the chemical hazards. Maybe the plant or maybe the site, your employees or your company, they are using the chemicals. Maybe the chemicals, they are corrosive, explosive, flammable type, explosion type, and certain other chemicals they are using. So if your employee use chemicals as part of their job duties, they need to know the hazard associated with those chemicals. So you have to make sure that your employees, they know the hazards associated with the chemicals. That you have to make sure. Then harmful dust, mist, fumes, and particulates that can come from the chemicals. Are employees exposed to chemicals or harmful dust, mist, or fumes? Examples, any chemical particulates or aerosolization of microorganisms which poses a health hazard, asbestos, welding fumes, soldier fumes, and TB, tuberculosis. So these are the things you have to make sure that you are checking all these things. If there is any chemicals are being used on the site. Now, potential exposure to blood-borne or fluids. So you have to check that if there is any potential, if there is any like chances that employees they can come into contact with the body fluids or blood. If there are any chances, then you have to take proper control also. Medical procedures, accident, research samples, and medical waste, that thing also you have to check. At biohazards, you have to check the biohazards also. In addition to human blood, body fluids, issues, biohazards may be worked with in your location. These agents include research microbes and recombinant DNA and certain other things that comes under the biohazards. So you have to take them into consideration as well. Emergency preparedness and fire safety. Knowing what to do in an emergency, your employee, your fire wardens, your emergency response team, they should know their roles and responsibility at the time of emergency. What are the steps they have to take? So, okay. So each and every person in the company, in the plant, they should know their roles and responsibility if there is any emergency that we have to make sure. Second thing, energy sources. You have to check the energy sources also because energy sources also can cause health and safety hazard to the employees and other users and the visitors also. Are there energy sources which could be harmful if accidental release or startup occurs? So that you have to check also. It could be electrical, it could be pneumatic, hydraulic, thermal, mechanical, or gravity. So these are the things also you have to concern. After that, you have to check about this sharp object also. Is your location, is your company, they are using the sharp objects to perform the task? Is your employee, they are using certain types of tools that is very sharp? So those tools also you have to check also. Maybe the glass, maybe the knife blades, sheet metal, nail guns, needles, splinters, and burrs. So these are the things also you have to check. You have to check the sharp objects also. Each and every sharp objects you have to take into consideration. After that, you have to check the temperature also, temperature extremes. Where your employees they are working. Are they working outside in the sun? Are they working inside the like any shade, or they are working with any high temperature environment? And what are the clothing they are using? Sometimes they are working with the high temperature and the clothing is not suitable. That thing also can give extreme temperature. So these things also you have to check. Maybe they are working in the cold environment. Maybe they are working inside the freezer. So those things also you have to take into consideration also. Then light radiation. Is there light radiation which could be harmful to the skin or eyes? Welding and cutting, lasers. If your staff, employee, they are working with the welding and cutting process and the laser process, then these also you have to take into consideration also, and the proper control measure you have to implement it. Then we have the flying debris. Whenever the people they are working with the hammering, sawing, chipping, grinding, drilling, and buffing, at the time these debris can fly, and if the people they are working in that certain areas and you are not closing that area, the debris can go to the someone other eyes, and that can hurt to the other people also. So you have to take the proper control of these debris. Then excessive noise. Maybe your employees they are using some of the equipment which is very noisy, and they are continuously working in that with that machine. So what will happen? Their listening power, their their voice, the ear, that power will go down. So you have to check that the dB requirement of the dB, how long they have to work, and what is the maximum limit of the dB they have to use. They have to work in that certain environment. So you have to check, you have to make sure that as per OSHA standard, they are not working more than 8 hours continuously if the dB is more than 85 decibel. So you have to check the dB is going high, then the working hours they will go down. So as per that requirement, you have to take the steps. Then workplace layout. You have to check the workplace layout also. Where is your company located? Maybe it is located like near the sea, near the ocean, or it is like near any open area that could be the dangerous from the environment itself. So certain things also you have to check. Maybe it is exceeding the fall hazards, low clearances, confined spaces they have to work. So where the employees are going to work, you have to check the work layout also. Confined space. If the staff they are working inside the confined space, then you have to check that is there adequate space to work and the adequate emergency exits and entry points are there or not. So that thing also you have to check. And you have to check the hazards regarding confined space. So that powered industrial trucks like forklift trucks, it is being used, and material moving machines such as forklift trucks and motorized pallet jacks. If your employees use these machines, additional training may be required. So these are the equipments if employees are using, you have to put the proper control measure for these also. Ergonomics. You have to check about the ergonomics as well. You have to check the administration staff. You have to check the office staff also. How they are working, how long they are working, what are the how they are sitting, what are the requirements of office infrastructure, is the light level is proper, what is the ventilation. So all these things you have to check. After that, step 2, once the hazard been identified, you must implement an effective control to eliminate the hazard. So first step, you will identify the hazard. Second step, you have to put the control measure to make sure that you are reducing the hazard or you are eliminating the hazard to an acceptable level. Step 3, evaluate the level of risk for each hazard to help determine what type of controls should be implemented to reduce exposure. After that, what you have to do, you have to evaluate the level of risk, whether it is high, medium, or low. Once you will identify the high, medium, or low, you have to put the control measure and you have to decide the control measure. Step number 4, select an appropriate solution to each hazard. Once you will identify the level of risk, then you have to select the solution. Always consider eliminating the hazard first. If eliminating is not possible, then consider reducing the hazard to an acceptable level. If an acceptable level cannot be reached, select and provide appropriate personal protective equipment for the employee. After then, you can use the engineering controls. Engineering controls eliminating exposure to the hazards. They are relatively permanent, can be costly, and can be time consuming as well. Example includes isolate the employee from the hazard. How we can isolate the employee from the hazard? Control rooms, machine guarding, protective barriers and shields, guardrails, clearance distances. So these are the examples which we can use to isolate the employee from the hazards. Design. Is there new or existing technology on the market for the product which by its design protects the persons using it? So you have to check the design also, or maybe the new design is there. So that should be considered as well. After then, process change. Maybe the way you are doing the work, it could be changed. Can we change the process? Like if you are doing the spray, painting, can you do it by dipping or brushing? So these fumes will not be in the air and that cannot be inhaled. So those things also you have to check. After that, work area layout. Can a hazardous work area layout be improved? So you have to check that also. And you have to make sure that your area layout is identified properly also. Then work area layout. Chemical storage area was moved away from hot work and electrical hazards. So you can hot work, you can remove the chemical storage. So if it is near there, the chances of explosion or flame or fire, it will increase. After that, substitution. Can a non-hazardous product be substituted for a hazardous product? Pesticides, solder, cleaning agents, solvents. Maybe you are using some of the high-risk chemicals. Can we use the low-risk chemical also? You can check the substitution from the supplier as well. You can ask the supplier to give you the lower flammable chemical, so they can provide you the substitution as well. After that, ventilation. Will ventilation improve the air quality to an acceptable level? If the ventilation is not proper, maybe the room there is too much fumes or flammable vapors in the air. By using the ventilation, so what can be happen? These fumes or air particles can be removed from the room, and that can be improved ventilation. Administrative control. Administrative control reduce employee exposure to a hazard. They do not eliminate the hazard, but they provide an acceptable way to work around the hazard. So administrative control can be used. So administrative control include reduction. Can you reduce the frequency of performing the hazardous task? Maybe you are doing that hazardous task 6 or 7 times in a day. Can we reduce that to 2 times or 1 time in a day? So that we have to look also. After that, rotation. Can employee be rotated to reduce exposure time? Maybe one of the employee is working continuously 2 hours. Can you rotate the employee that one of the employee will work only 1 hour or 30 minutes? So 30 minutes, 4 employees will work in that area. So that we have to check also. After then, training. Training is very important part. So you have to make sure that every one of your employees, they are trained about the particular hazards and risks, and they know how to control the hazards and what are the PPE they have to use, and if there is an emergency, what are the action they have to take. So these are the things you have to train to your employees properly. Employee, how you can protect the employee? If the hazard cannot be eliminated or reduced to an acceptable level, you have to make sure that you are providing proper PPEs to your employees, and you have to make sure that you are providing the training to the employees to how to use these PPEs properly, and if there is a damage, if there is an issue with the PPE, and how they have to report it, where they have to report it, and whom they have to contact. So these are the trainings you have to provide it regarding PPE. After that, protect the employee. How we can protect the employees? We have to provide the hard hats. We have to provide eye protection. We have to provide the face protection, respiratory protection, hearing protection, body wear, sleeves, gloves, and protective footwear. These are the PPE we have to provide to our employees as per the task, as per the location, as per the equipment, and as per the chemicals or other certain things which is involving to the task. So whenever you are providing the PPE, make sure you are checking all these things before, then you provide the PPE. Do not forget that PPE is the last resort. So do not just provide the PPE and you are telling that employee start the work. So before you have to take all the steps, then at the end, if still risk is there, then you have to provide the PPE. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much for your time and patience. I hope you like my video and you like this presentation. See you in the next video. Thank you so much.